To all of those who loved him, all of us who still look for the black number 3 in the field, if you look real hard, they say you can still see him there. If you listen with us to the following song, well, perhaps you just might feel him here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, here to remember Dale Earnhardt,
TC and Jake.
Welcome in, folks. It's me, TC Fleming, here with Jake Kemp, and for this very special voyage that I intend for us to go on, we have David Carter Ruff, man with 3 names. Thank you for making the time.
You don't have to use all 3.
What? How do you have 3? Do you want to get that mic closer? I think that's.
Oh yeah, I've never done a pod before. I apologize.
The 3 name thing is legal. That's a lawyer thing.
Yeah,
It's gotta be.
absolutely. Yeah.
It was either do the 3 names or just do Esquire at the end.
Ooh.
And I figured this was the least smug.
Yeah.
But I might be mistaken. But thanks for having me on. I can't wait to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it this morning when I was driving home. This is basically just like the grown-up version of that meme of the 3 kids like talking on YouTube.
Yes.
It's like, as I was telling Kristen this morning, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna need the house for a couple hours. 3 middle-aged white men are gonna talk about Jeffrey Epstein for a couple hours for a podcast.
Well, no one's talking about it on podcasts, so
That's the
somebody
thing.
had to.
No one has mined this space.
Yeah.
That's weird though. Like, what do you tell people when they ask you what you do? Because like mine is weird,
I'm a storyteller.
but at least people have heard of radios.
Yeah,
So that helps.
I like to lean into the digital media and then just hope they don't pry. You know, like hope it just stops there.
Yeah.
And then if it's like, oh, we have a series of podcasts, and they're like, oh, podcasts, yeah,
I've heard of that.
yeah. And they're like, what is it? I'll check it out. And I'm like, and that's when I really die inside when they say they might check it out because I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't have to. If you haven't already, you're not gonna like it. So
But like, wife's family, is that weird?
no, they're very supportive. My family, I think my dad might be a patron of him, my sister, and no, the weird one is like the occasional cousin that when I see them once every few years, they're like, hey, checked it out, it was interesting. Actually,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, I'm thinking in my head like, oh, which one was it? Was it the one where we made the cum joke or the one where we
Yeah.
made the cum joke? Yeah,
Or the cum stock joke.
yeah, yeah.
You guys
That's
were hard on cum rocket.
Yeah, we were. We went viral on TikTok. I don't know if you guys are familiar with TikTok, but we're now the face of cummies.
Yeah, no, imagine doing the, I'll check it out conversation like once a day with an Uber fare. Do you think that would be a fun life? I don't want to tell you the name. I don't want to do this whole thing. How about we just...
Like, were you worried about the judgment of 6 a.m. headed home hookers?
No, I want them to listen for
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe some guests?
It's the same kind of policy that the captain of our boat in Austin had. Anyone can come on the boat as long as they're not dudes.
Captain Chris.
We don't need any more male listeners, but everyone else, climb aboard.
Have we ever told you about Captain Chris?
I think I've heard y'all talk
I'm
about
sure
him.
KJ's.
You need to go meet Captain Chris. It'd be much easier for you than us. You could do that on a day trip.
That's a Thursday night game picker for next year for sure.
Oh,
Although
really?
I
God,
very
yes.
seriously doubt that he has the internet.
Yeah, no, unless you.
I was gonna say like ability to record.
That's
Yeah,
like
and
an
I just thought-
all-time Austin just burnout job where like you really all you have to do is this one thing and you don't need internet. You just go do it. It's like that or working like the cart barn at a golf course or something. Like you're just like a few steps away from having to stay in a shelter.
But the other thing about it is that like he also had like the Austin component of like branding himself.
Yeah.
Like he had koozies with his face
koozies
on
with-
it.
yeah.
Oh,
there's a-
okay.
there's a
So this
sketch
guy's
of him.
This guy's a brand.
Yeah.
He has it's him wearing the clothes he's wearing while he's doing that. So you know that he just wears the same thing every day.
all the time. And someone sketched
it's
him.
on
And he
there.
made,
So he's just going
It's
out
on
of
the
his way to
koozie.
like become like a local legend.
oh
Yes.
yeah,
He
for
is.
sure.
Yeah,
He's Jake. Here's a name from the past. He's kind
Oh,
of the
Frisbee
the
Dan.
Frisbee Dan of the Austin Lake scene.
Very much. Yeah.
Okay.
Captain Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, will you show him real quick the not that page, but one of the other pages?
Yeah, I
Show the
texted
folks
it.
as
I
well.
texted it to him,
Oh,
so
okay.
he knows. I got a layout.
Yeah, a nice legal pad.
Well, I had to get a second one too, just for anything not covered on the
Christ.
first one. The first one kind of disorganized, so this sort of like gives me into what I want to, the points I got to hit.
Fucking Rawls over here.
It's a serious topic, and Walt Davis correct. Many people have approached it. I don't know that any of them have brought to bear the sort of resources and acumen that we intend to here. So,
Well, you guys tell me what Henry Abbott wrote.
there's. I don't even know if we can get to most of the Abbott stuff here because I love all of it. It's amazing, but a lot of it's just not that related to Jeffrey Epstein. Would you agree with that?
There are a lot of connections that, how do I put it? So he draws a lot of conclusions, and these people were related, and clearly rubbed shoulders, but there's not a lot of substance to that. Like he tried his
I
whole
don't think
tie-in
he's
is the
even
NBA.
necessarily saying that there
NBA.
is, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe not. It's just he's pointing all this out, and my whole thing is, and I haven't been a true hoop guy for a long time, but I'm like, what made him do this passion project? Is this like a known thing that this guy was down to do some dirty journalism?
We talked about this yesterday. Like, as I'm sure you were, I was a hardcore true hoop dude. Like, it was great. It felt like the first of its kind.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't remember if you sent it to me first or how I found it. I think I found it because I liked listening to David Thorpe talk basketball. So, like, I paid for True Hoop, and then, like, they were sending me updates, and it was like, I don't know, like, is John Wall's contract movable? And Jamal Khashoggi is actually the reason that the 76ers were tanking.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the yeah, very odd.
But he has always been a guy, like, most of it's more traditional basketball stuff, but he would definitely bring a way different lens on occasion to basketball things. One thing that stands out in my mind is he read, like, a book about running. And
That's right.
It was a big time book at the time. Like, it was one of those real,
Here's why people in this country can run.
Gary V would have tweeted about it, something like that, And he read the book and then applied it to, like, all the major NBA stars, like, was examining their gait. Like, he's like, of course Dwayne Wade is a injury prone player. Look at how his feet lands. Like, that's not normal stuff,
It's not normal, but it's also not the Saudis.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to think that one day he was looking into like somebody's plus minus, and then all of a sudden like he like looked up at the TV and saw something about Epstein, and then that just sent him on a path, and he's going to sell the movie rights to his entire life story because this would be an excellent movie, like a nice origin story.
Yeah.
A basketball blogger turned guy who cracked the case.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
feeling
pretty much
Tom Hanks.
Zodiac.
I'm feeling Tom Hanks big time.
Definitely.
I feel like this is his lane.
You probably want to keep him in particular separate from this project.
Didn't think about that 7 seconds ago. If he's alive at all,
Yeah.
Vida.
Yeah. Does she say that he's a zombie?
Oh, yeah. Vida thinks Tom Hanks has been dead for like 2 years.
And I have no doubt that she's right. I've never known her to be wrong about anything.
Yeah, she's
Do you keep track of Vida, Dave?
I don't.
Mike and
Roy's
Cash's mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I need to know more on this theory.
Yeah,
She has a
she's-
lot of strong opinions about a lot of topics.
What does she think about Chet?
I don't know if she's weighed in on Chet Hayes, but yeah, she's. I should be getting my photo in the next couple days, but every time Mike goes down to Florida around this time, he just simply photographs his mom's stack of books from that year. And it's
not good.
That's when I found out that the My Pillow guy's book
Yes.
has like a fucking what do you call it? Like
Pillow?
no, like
It's written on a pillow.
oh, that'd be great. The cover is like if you look at it in different ways,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the cover
hologram action.
hologram
Yeah.
act, yeah.
Oh, so it's almost like looking at like a back of a $20 bill.
Exactly.
You notice
see
something new
different.
every time.
Yeah.
If you fold it together, you see the
She's-
Sphinx or something.
She's definitely into all of this.
But yeah, speaking of moms, that's the audio I have for you. I'll just
Oh,
go ahead
no.
and play this.
Do you know who Jeffrey Epstein is?
Sort of.
Can you hear all this?
Who is he?
I know he's been accused of being involved with sex trafficking, I believe.
Where have you heard about this from?
The radio, the news, stuff like that.
Magazine.
No, I don't think it's even in People Magazine. I'm far behind anyway.
What's his current status, as far as you're aware?
I thought he dead, committed suicide in jail.
Do you think he committed, like, who do you think he killed himself?
Yeah. I haven't heard enough information to determine one way or the other. He did it
Okay,
for
gonna
someone
kind of hold
else.
out judgment
Yeah.
here.
And it's hard to
research.
ask this without being leading, but what, in your opinion, is he someone who acted alone, or,
Acted alone and killing himself?
well, just the ring, you know, like,
Heck no.
who's involved in the ring?
I know there's been a couple women.
What are you guys playing
Can't tell you her name, or like I know she was involved in a show, and I don't know about an actress, but maybe
She's
like
getting us mixed up with
producer.
Nexie.
I was gonna say, I feel like this is very
Well,
bad word.
and hold on.
Okay, she's kind of searching.
I thought there was an Oh, I thought there was another actor. That,
My dad was whispering, "Stop while you're ahead."
oh, isn't it Prince Andrew? Or somebody?
There we go. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's the bulk of it. So yeah, you know.
Well, because this has always been a central
Yes.
question when we talk about this.
I was
case.
asking it for
yeah,
you.
exactly. Is just when I imagine my mom watching the 6 o'clock news or like David Muir at 5 o'clock, like how does she process this story? And I've largely thought that the way she processes it is not.
Yeah.
Just
So
basically
the
like,
world might be controlled by a cabal of pedophiles.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with
Also,
gas
inflation
prices.
up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's solid research.
Back to you. So I was really hoping that this all would line up with the Ghislaine verdict coming in, because as we outlined yesterday, the jury is done for the week. They won't be back until Tuesday. And they wouldn't have had to come back on Tuesday at all if they had just fucking told us what they think yesterday. So I thought really they were going to do that. So to have, verdict yesterday, this podcast today, and then all building towards, of course, her 60th birthday on Saturday.
Of course.
That would have been a nice little package, but we didn't get the whole thing. But yeah, I thought this was a good time to just kind of like go over, what do we know? What do we think we know? For people who, like we talk about this for 5 minutes an episode, like once a month. And I don't know that there's ever been a time that we'd sit down and lay out everything in one place. So I'd love to do that. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, and for me, it's just odd that she's been in the public light and classified as a socialite for so long, and I only, like in the last 2 weeks, found out how massive her titties are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
That's-
believe it took you that long to realize that that's what she was working with.
I mean, I always knew she was a very attractive woman, but
Well,
the photos that the two of you have been sending me have been
Oh,
I'd
don't
like
put
to-
me in this.
Disagree with you there.
eye-opening.
Her face is that of a British person,
Yeah.
which I simply cannot get past. But
Someone referred to, was it Kate? Somebody, I don't want to name names. Someone said she looks like the fifth Beatle.
Okay, but
The Beatles were very handsome
I was
men.
gonna say, yeah,
That's not a bad thing.
yeah.
yeah, no, I've in the course of doing this, I've now seen like a lot of pictures of her at various stages of life, and just tracking the nose through time. I mean, like it's really under control in her 20s, but by the time we get to 59, something's gone terribly wrong. But yeah, with the whole Epstein thing, I think that it kind of, I think about it in two categories of, there's the stuff that we know and is proven. And then there's the stuff where you definitely would not be able to say that you can prove it, but you suspect, like you can imagine. That's the big thing, you can imagine. So from as far as what we know, like headline thing from at least 1993 on, Jeffrey Epstein personally preyed on teenagers. There's the number 3 comes up over and over and over whenever talking to people who knew him, that he had to nut 3 times a day.
Yeah, hard and fast.
Yeah. And I have to assume that some of those were just like him and Jelaine or him by himself or whatever. But if it's close to like trying to run in 3 teenagers a day, we're talking about hundreds of victims pretty quickly.
Listen, I'm not going to defend the guy.
Okay,
That's certainly not my my aim here today.
How big of you?
But if I did have like billions of dollars gifted to me, I certainly
go on.
I certainly would not, as we all know, aim for even probably women in their 20s. But I think if you just had nothing to do all the time, I could definitely see jacking off 3 times a day.
Yeah, it's like
It's not the craziest thing I've ever heard.
It's not now. As a younger
You've
man,
lost the lust for life.
I mean, there was a time where if I'd had the time, I certainly would have liked to jerk off 3 times a day, but that was a decade ago or more.
Well, every day for him is like when you stay home sick in 9th grade and your parents are at work and you're just like, well, got nothing else to do, and you
Let's
just
see
set a
how high
personal
we can
best.
fly.
You just PR it every time.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Ginny Jones is on.
Maybe
This will work.
maybe flip it over to like Kiana's Flex Appeal or something. If that's what you're
Sure.
if you want to get a workout in.
I just don't think that's like the craziest number I've ever heard. But if you're doing it in a form of, obviously there's victimization involved, then you are talking about hundreds of people.
Yeah.
But anyways.
And whatever you just think about, I mean, I have no idea how to parse like the report rates on sexual assault, but I suspect there's a lot more assaults than reports. Does that sound right to you guys?
I've always heard that.
Definitely.
And so, whenever you look at the number of victims that have come forward, in like just victims we know about too, because I watched the documentary, the 4-part Netflix, the Filthy Rich thing this week to bone up on this. And, if you're just talking about like the girls on camera in that, and then the girls that they said, like, yeah, I told my friend about this and she went, like, you're getting to like, I don't know, 40 pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's the ones we know about. And then you would assume that there were several years where like, there's just not anyone that appeared in this documentary, but I don't think that he was not doing it. So, I don't know. It's a staggering number. As far as other things that we know for sure, he had, like kind of a business built up around this, like an infrastructure, where Jelaine's a big part of that. Sarah Kellen, do you know about Sarah Kellen, Jake?
I guess not.
She's whenever he had the plea agreement, the big Alex Acosta one,
Yeah.
that had the non-prosecution part of it, he had some named co-conspirators, which is the most insane thing of all time. It's like, these people, they haven't necessarily done anything wrong, but just, I want to get this out there, you can't charge them with any federal crimes going forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet deal for them.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. Good looking out.
Jelaine's on that list. Sarah Kellen's on that list. Nadia Maronico. We'll just call her Nadia.
There had to be a Nadia in there somewhere.
She's
You
on
couldn't
that
have
list.
a spy thriller without Nadia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah, and in the Jelaine trial, one of the girls described Sarah as being the one to take her pictures, like that they were, like they go and do the whole massage business, and then Jeffrey's like, yeah, go with her. She'll take some nudes of you.
GMAC sounds extremely versatile to me.
Yeah.
Like
Utility player.
Yeah, I don't know that I've had like a female cleaner in the news in my life like this. I guess like Hillary, you know. She just kind of like ends people.
Was she more of a Hillary or an Huma, whatever. Anthony
I
Weiner's
think she was
ex.
a Hillary. You know, I mean,
Okay.
I think that she was. I mean, she and Epstein shared a room the whole time. That was a revelation from the trial. One bedroom for the two of them in the Palm Beach place.
That's sweet.
Do you also think it's weird, like that? Maybe this is just
Love, folks. Give it a chance.
maybe this is just like trying to perceive things through our own like not billionaire view, but I think it's weird that they like were romantically involved for a very long time, and then reportedly, I think no longer were, but they were just still like
See, I think
hanging
that they
out
were.
and getting broads together. Like I can't.
It was like a co-parenting deal.
Yeah, but
I-
like I don't know. That's just
I think that they were always like there was a point where like he was going around like introducing herself or her all the time as like his girlfriend or whatever.
but then later not.
Yeah, but I mean they were living together the whole time. So I kind of think that it was at a certain point it like fell into sort of another thing where she was more like running his affairs and you know making sure that he had enough ladies and stuff like that.
It's just hard for me as someone who like every single person that I dated in any way before right now would tell you they hate me.
Yeah.
So what this working relationship is not something I can identify
In
with
some
in
ways,
any way.
he just lived a healthier life than you and
That's
I.
probably true.
He's a better man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, one of the other revelations at trial was at one point he was trying to convince mother to send her child to his New Mexico ranch.
The
And
cum ranch.
As way of doing that, said, well, you shouldn't worry. My wife, Jelaine, will be there. So that was a big one.
May have a common law marriage situation.
Yeah,
See,
who
this
knows?
is why you bring in the lawyer.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of this. I'm an expert.
I would love it if you were just an expert in common law.
There's nothing common about it. That's the thing.
See, that's a good start right there.
That is,
I feel
yeah.
like we put that on the ad.
Yeah, if this is
That's the chorus.
I'm paying the retainer at the end of this meeting if that's how it starts.
Yeah,
I know
thank you.
that. But yeah, so Sarah Kellen, you know, went through all the. It just appeared. One of the big assertions about her in the media was that she was the scheduler, like that she'd kind of be coordinating with the girls to make sure that they showed up at the right times and they were staggered properly. But she, after she got out of this whole deal, has gone on to lead a normal life and is now married to NASCAR's Brian Vickers.
I saw that story a couple weeks ago, and I'd never heard of the guy, but it appeared that people who are into NASCAR had.
So I can get from Epstein to Rich Phillips in 4 moves. And
Right. That makes
wonder about
absolutely no
this guy.
sense, right? Like, if I would have just asked you just now to like list me the top 10 sports that are going to come up as we
Didn't have NASCAR in the
you
10.
would have got
Whatever you're talking about, the elites getting
F1,
together, if one of them is
F1
going
for
to be
sure.
a NASCAR driver.
F1 makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
That is the elite sport.
Yeah. I feel sure that F1 is in there somewhere. We just haven't uncovered that part yet.
I just can't believe you've potentially implicated the entire SMU program.
But yeah, I gotta wonder about this Brian Vickers fella.
Why?
Like, because
You don't know. You don't
all
always
this stuff
know
is
what
out-
people were.
She's in the non-prosecution agreement. She did something. That's plainly obvious. And then you have people in the media describing what that is, like victims being like, "Yeah, what she did to me was," and he's just like, I mean, it has to be that, like, you know, there's more bad people in the world than just Jeffrey Epstein. Whenever you hear about a new person like Brian Vickers, who I certainly hadn't heard about before this, you're like, well, they're probably like me and they have a similar, you know, heart to mine. And I'd start to think that I can't believe that about Brian Vickers.
I think you're basically asking the question: is being included in a sex trafficking non-prosecution agreement a deal breaker?
If you found out that Kristen was named in a non-prosecution agreement as part, like, as
Yeah.
a favor to her by a sex trafficker, how would you feel about it?
Yeah, when you put it like that, I think I would have reservations.
I'd have a lot of questions. And then
Dave seems cool with it.
I'm thinking like, what if they really weren't involved like at all, but it was just kind of like a
Just in case.
belated
Fucking with
birthday
them.
gift. Like, hey, I went ahead and got your name. Just, I know you're good, but just in case, just thank me later.
it would be not the gift I was looking to receive.
Well, would you turn it? You're not going to turn it down, though.
I think I might. I think I say keep my name out of anything to do with you. I don't want anyone to know that I met you.
Yeah.
I'll take the prosecution risks. And then Nadia, detail about her. I'm trying to remember. I think that it's both Virginia and Maria, but let me just say Virginia Giuffre said.
Did I say that name?
Oh, I've been saying it wrong forever then.
Yeah, I was always going with Guffrey.
It's Giuffre.
Oh man, Guffrey's such a blasphemous way, and that's how I've been saying it. So now hearing you say that, I feel like just such a
There's
piece of
probably
scum.
never been two more disparate ways to pronounce
Guffrey.
one name than Guffrey to Gouffre.
well, I think Ghislaine or Ghislaine
I've
is
always said Ghislaine.
Ghislaine. Isn't in like the French pronunciation like Ghislaine?
Yeah, man, but she's not.
Edit
French.
that out. I hate that I said that on this podcast. I don't want that out there.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of stuff you guys run. We're not
Okay,
an
good for
editing
A.
podcast. But yeah, so
How often do you guys edit?
Honestly, like once every few months, if that.
Okay.
We rarely.
that's good.
It used to happen for us only because of me, like probably once every 4 months, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, you're doing much better.
Yeah.
Usually it's if we have a read and it's for something that has like a ton of rules that you can or cannot say.
Yeah.
Like some kind of like online insurance platform or something.
Yeah, when there's a fiduciary element to it.
Yeah. You can't get in there and just start mixing it up.
What about the hard seltzer sponsor?
They're pretty lenient. Although, there is the disclaimers at the end. No, the one that I'm really thinking of is
You don't have to say it specifically if you don't want.
okay. Well, you definitely can't say you're going postal. They don't really like to bring that up, as we learned.
Well, I mean, it's good to know whether or not they care enough to listen.
They've got people
awesome.
They'll hit you. You'll get the email like, "Hey, great read. Love the anecdote. Loved it. One thing." The reference to like an early '90s
Killing spree.
shooting rampant problem. We can't have that. Like, okay, and then, you know what? They've stuck with us.
That's good. Yeah. And I mean, you understand.
Communication is key.
Yeah.
So Gouffre.
Well, Virginia Giuffre said that I think it's not a hard G. I think it's a soft G.
That's even worse.
Giuffre. I think it's Giuffre. Said that Nadia, or that Jeffrey had told her that Nadia came to be in his circle when she was like 14. He bought her from her parents in Yugoslavia. She went to Yugoslavia, offered them a sum, and said, "I'm taking her with." And the parents were like, "Well, it is a lot of money."
Yeah, that's heavy and horrible, but also like makes you think that probably happens like a lot.
Yeah, that's
I
one
mean,
of those
I hope
things.
not.
Like a lot.
When you see that in a movie,
Yeah.
you're like, okay.
You're right.
And then
Taken,
that's a lot
for
of this
example.
stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, it's you hear this, your friend took a bunch of notes on his legal pad and he's dropping these bombs on you. You're like, whoa, that changes everything.
Then she also, fun twist, rose to some social media prominence as the Gulfstream girl. She was into flying, as many people in his circle were.
Oh, so she was like the private flight attendant?
I think that she knew how to fly to some extent, and
I
like
vaguely remember
that's
this.
right.
had like a YouTube channel where she's like, just
Yeah.
talking about it.
Was she monetizing?
I think so.
That's good.
Hard to do on
This
that,
is this guy's into digital media.
Yeah.
What YouTube's really doing, like the way that they're shadow
Shut the
banning,
fuck up.
and censoring is
He's the best. Just capable of fooling anyone with anything.
So,
Is that account still active?
so the channel exists, but there's no more videos on it. Like I immediately when she had some kind of legal dispute with Gulfstream and had to change her name from the Gulfstream
they got
girl.
bulldogs over there, from what I've heard.
And so she moved to being called the something else girl, like the fly girl, I don't know. And so I found that page, and it just didn't have it. She'd taken down all the videos.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. But yeah, so as far as other
By the way,
things,
they put a sum on that 14-year-old's transaction. Do we have any idea? Like,
No.
don't you want to?
No, he
like,
just-
it's
it was
bad,
just-
but I want to know.
Well, yeah, I'm curious what the
Yeah.
number would be.
me as well. But no, it was just Jeffrey being like, I bought her, and that I think that was the extent of it.
Yeah.
As far as other things that we're absolutely sure about, he had power of attorney, received real estate, and a large amount of money from Les Wexner. That continued until around the time of his first conviction. Since then, he has received, this is a confirmed figure from a law firm report, $158 million from Leon Black, the founder of Apollo Global Capital.
Oh, here we go.
And, until all this came out, the president of Apollo Global Capital, and then they had the whole, this is all the stuff from the True Hoop. The True Hoop is real zeroed in on this aspect, that they have this law firm report that comes out, says, yes, it was $158 million, but we asked a lot of hard questions, and I think it's just estate planning. He just gave some tax advice, and that was worth $158 million. So we're clearing Leon of all charges. Unrelated matter, he is stepping down. So
It's just too hot,
just
Like,
gonna,
you guys did this.
solve this problem across a number of axes, and I think everyone's gonna feel good about this. But don't ask any more questions.
Was this Pepper Hamilton? Was this the Pep?
No, it's the I've never seen this before. Maybe you can tell me more about the law world. It's a one name firm. It's just Detchert.
Oh, that's alpha. They know they're serious.
I
Yeah.
saw it and I was impressed.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like, even the Murdoch family had like 3 names on theirs, and I was
Yeah.
led to believe that they like ran a state for 100 years.
Every one that I've seen, it's multiple names. So this Detchert fella, some balls on him.
By the way, there's like there's a non-zero chance that there's like some alternate universe where you're working for Pepper Hamilton.
Yeah,
That feels like the sort of thing that, like, I don't know that I really see you like in the criminal space, like
I
maybe a little
dabbled.
too soft,
Yeah, thanks.
but kind of just the paper pusher, read your emails, and Pepper Hamilton feels like a David Ruff possibility. Your thoughts?
The corporate investigation stuff. I actually have done some of that, and it's interesting. Like, you just get in and like you're an outsider and you're just getting all the dirt and just interviewing people who work there, and it's kind of fun. Like, I mean, if you have some like a juicy case or a juicy thing that you're investigating, but yeah, there's a lot of money in that, and we could do an entire podcast on the Pepper Hamilton. We need to get to bottom of that one next.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think you'd be able to keep the mustache in that world?
Man, the mustache would not play. It would have, I practiced in Lubbock for a while. It might play out there. In fact, I probably would still be out there if I had done it. I would have commanded more respect.
Yeah.
I'd probably still hold my position there.
opportunity.
It really was. And the stash, I have to say, the wife is asking, like, hey, when's that coming off?
When's the bit over?
Yeah,
Never.
and I was like, you married the bit. You had a child with the bit.
Yeah.
But maybe soon. We'll see.
Are you allowed? This is a really dumb question that I've never like actually considered. Are you allowed to serve on a jury? Like, are lawyers commonly jurors?
I would hope. I wish that they were the only ones. That
I know,
were,
but
based
like
on
if
my
you only have
experience,
one.
because they'll let some fucking idiots do it.
No, we've talked about the professional juror thing before, but like are they like commonly excluded?
It depends on the case. That they might, you might get somebody who wants to strike that person from the jury pool because having somebody who's theory, analytical, and looks at things objectively and
also
things
knows
like
what people are looking for.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
the last thing I want on my journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I just want
This is what
common
a guy
people.
who has to work at his church tomorrow, so he can't be here for the
Ooh,
trial
I
on the 23rd.
Can't do it. Can't do. I gotta help my church. So as far as things that we know for sure, even like Bill Clinton, I would not put that under we know for sure. He's on the flight logs, but there's no one. I don't know that any of the women who came forward saying they were abused ever said that they were with him. In the documentary, one of the women talks
they
about
can't.
traveling with him, and she says that was the only time that they didn't have any problems, like that no one abused her on that trip. One of the documentary, like, it's kind of bringing together a lot of stuff that was already out there, and it's useful, I guess, in that purpose. The one thing that I had not seen before that I thought was valuable is they had a guy who worked on the island that they talked to pretty extensively.
Cell
Yeah.
phone tower guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said that he saw Clinton on the island, and Clinton does deny going to the island. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, I turned the corner. He was sitting there talking to him for sure." But that guy did not see Clinton doing anything, and I think that he even said that they were the only two on the island at that point. Like no one else was there.
Well, G-Max was friends with Chelsea Clinton.
For sure.
Like that's for sure. She was at the wedding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no,
Great photo.
I think there's no doubt that they're close, but like, you know, the three of us are friends and we've never trafficked women between each other.
That's fair.
Yeah, once you make it 3, it's
Gets
definitely
complicated.
not. Yeah. All that is really is just people knowing that, like, Bill Clinton is like a serial horny man.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that that's
So
one
he
where I would
probably
say
did, but yeah, you don't know.
a preponderance of smoke to draw a line between something like that. And I would say Prince Andrew, like, we've got pictures of the fire. You know, like fucking he absolutely, they got him dead to right. Yeah, I mean you've got an accuser saying that happened. You've got her in a picture with him, and then you've got the telecom guy at the island saying that he was walking by the pool once and that Jeffrey was grinding on Prince Andrew. Like, so I mean that's a preposterous amount of evidence. And then you throw in Prince Andrew's
Interview.
yeah,
That didn't
and
help.
like all of it's 100% that guy was in this.
Was the cell phone tower guy? Was he the one who had a contentious relationship with G-Max? One of them, when they were getting questioned, it was like clear they did not get along, and I can only think that she was not nice to the people who were helping out around the island.
I think I think you're thinking of Juan Alessi.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy who kind of ran the house in Palm Beach. Yeah, no, he at the trial made it fairly clear he was not a fan, and they submitted a handbook for the house as evidence. And there's stuff. I don't think that Ghislaine wrote it. I think that they went out of their way to say that some like countess wrote it. But it's got a bunch of stuff in there about like, neither seen nor heard kind of stuff. Yeah, and Juan made it pretty clear that Ghislaine was a bitch to him, and I can believe that.
I know I've told you guys this before, but it is really weird to see it in person. The fact that it is a one way in, one way out situation. The fact that it's on the end of that street, the ocean, like the bay is behind it. Like it definitely feels like you're trapped when you get to the end of the street.
Just imagine whenever he's
I was
shopping.
fucking terrified, and it was
He's like,
10
I
years
just want
before.
somewhere where people feel like they're trapped.
I mean,
Mission accomplished.
it was very eerie.
I love that you've been there.
Yeah,
I always forget about that.
honestly, pretty terrified.
Because
And
the
it
whole
was like
documentary
a
is just like
decade
drone
from
shots of that.
when it actually happened.
And I'm just thinking there was Jake.
Is the New York City townhouse still? Is that still up there? Because the crazy thing about that, isn't there like 40 something rooms?
Yeah,
Like-
it's a 7-story.
I can't even picture. I'm sure I could look at it, but I can't even imagine what that would look like in New York City.
Yeah, I know. It's heavily I watched the trailer for the.
I mean, it looks like an apartment building. It's just that it's one thing,
Right.
Like it looks like other things that, possibly a walk-up I don't know if you guys know the lingo.
You're a New York guy.
Yeah.
Have you watched the trailer for the Dasha movie?
No.
I mean, it's heavily featured there.
Okay.
The ex-girlfriend of the bug man from Cumtown, who is now featured in season 3 of Succession,
Okay.
made a horror movie about Jeffrey Epstein.
So, my good buddy of mine, internet friend and real life friend, John Duda,
Yeah.
of Internet Party fame, he watched it. He found
he
a
saw
clip.
it?
He said it's absolutely the biggest piece of garbage.
It looked
Oh, no.
it looked so bad in the trailer I saw, but I'm not really like horror guy,
He
but
said the acting is just shockingly bad.
yeah.
That's unfortunate. I was hoping for more.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got a link I can send you.
Okay.
I haven't
but
watched it yet.
I don't really want to watch it after what you just said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
also
kinda-
like also like he's just had the link and hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
So like is anybody really sharing those
Yeah.
sort of links like aggressively? Like you're pretty much giving the full comment there. But anyways, like that house is heavily featured. So I mean you could just go check it out.
So another thing I would put in the we're positive of, that house is wired with cameras everywhere.
So was the house, by the way, on El Brillo still.
Yeah.
And I mean, they probably were newer, but dude, everywhere. Like the whole scene was. I was very aware that there
Just
were
there
cameras.
was a lot
like, and they were
of
moving.
interior hidden ones.
Okay.
I believe in all properties because Maria Farmer, she was the first one to accuse him in 1996. She went to the FBI, and she like worked for him. She was like front desk at the East 71st, the Manhattan property. And she said that both her and Virginia, I believe, say that they saw like it's like one of those things where it's not like full on hidden, but like you're not expecting it there. Of just kind of like a wall that like it's actually a door, and you like go through there, and there's just monitors across the whole thing, and it's every room, all the bathrooms, that type of shit.
I want to know what security company set that up, and I want to look into them. That's where you need to go because it certainly wasn't like a ring setup.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Just block
Simply
off your
safe,
Saturday for.
not involved. Maria, she did a full episode interview with TrueAnon, which is good, and anyone interested in this case, I recommend it. She said, like, one of her anecdotes was that she got hired or was about to be hired to work. She's a painter and was going to do some paintings for a great film, As Good as It Gets. But Jeffrey, every time that she was about to leave the orbit, would try and do something to keep her in. So he's like, well, Ann Wexner wants to hire you. She's going to pay you a ton for a ton of paintings and like, just do this. So she went and lived at the Wexners. And she said whenever she got there, that like Jelaine called her and was like, I see you. Because everywhere at the Wexner property was wired for video, and that Jelaine was watching her like all the time. And Jelaine in New York could see the feed. Which is that even possible in 1996? Maybe she was on the property. I don't fucking know. But she just described that there was a time whenever she spilled some paint and like moved some furniture over it to just try and kind of keep this going, and someone was on the phone immediately, like, what the fuck are you doing? They could see, they were watching her spill the paint and then saw her move the thing. And so I think that she said that Jeffrey had indicated to her at one point that Les had a guy as far as being able to get your house wired for secret video in every room. That was something that Les was wanted that anyways, that everywhere that he was. And I think that the house, because Jeffrey got the house from Les, so I think it's Les putting in the cameras
wired
from the start. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, hey, I got a huge mansion in Manhattan. Great news. It's got cameras all throughout. But I think she also said that Jeffrey was a guy also who was very conversant in, how the surveillance system worked. This is a great example of the stuff we know and stuff we can imagine. We know for certain the entire house was wired for video. Then you start to imagine, well, why would they want it wired for video? And so that you could have powerful people having sex with underage girls without them knowing that they're being taped.
Yeah, no, that's
That's where you get
obviously
to
the because I mean
nefarious stuff.
the other option would be if you want to be involved in like doing a whole bunch of shady shit, you would want like the least amount of record of this as possible if it was just you.
Yeah.
Like if you introduce other people to it, that's the only reason that you would want that there if you're the type of person who is also committing crimes.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like a Dennis situation.
What do you mean?
Well, he's known for Dennis from Always Sunny tapes every sexual encounter
Oh,
he has.
that's right. Okay, yeah.
But isn't trying to tape anyone else. And yeah, there are those people. And then some final things that we're sure about. He got a really unusual deal from prosecutors. Like the one great thing the documentary does a good job of is just talking to the like police and the people involved in the original Florida prosecution, and just gets them talking about how the people that eventually ended up, because he got a deal, both the state didn't want to do anything with it, and then the federal gave him the non-prosecution agreement. At both levels, whenever they started, they were like, oh yeah, this is terrible. We got to nail this guy. He's not going to see light again. And then, a week later, they're like, so, I mean, in the end, is it that bad? And we're just going to kind of let him off with one thing. It's, this just makes sense for everybody.
That's where we got the Acosta.
Yeah.
What's the term he actually used?
He belongs to intelligence.
Intelligence.
Above his pay grade.
Yeah, above his pay grade was in there as well.
Yeah. And then the final thing I'm sure about is that there were hundreds of people who were aware of this and had no problem, said nothing. Like, just the people like Juan Alessi, and I mean, like, it's not like he's the worst guy in all of this, but people who just see girls coming to the house all the time, sees that there's a massage table in every room. Like, how many fucking sophomores in high school do you know that are great at massages? Like if you're just trying
put
to
me on the
like
spot here.
Like the fucking staff of the airport as he's landing in Little St. James, like all that kind of stuff. There was I found this last night. It was something that Henry Abbott linked to, something called the Mint Press that I was not previously familiar with. Do you know about the Mint Press?
Wait, I do. Explain it further. I know this is something.
They had a couple. They had several articles about Epstein. One of them.
Is this the one from India?
No, it's. I was looking because I didn't know anything about it, and I looked at the Wikipedia last night. I think it's some lady from like a journalist in Minnesota that started it, something like that.
I was thinking of the
Snyder.
the one that Daniel Snyder like tried to put out of business.
Oh yeah,
that accused Bruce Allen of working with them to plant stories.
A smear campaign to put him in the black book or something.
yeah, that was great. I loved that. How great is it to have someone who's got a grudge against the powerful person is like, I know. I'll just get him. I'll just fucking tell him it's Epstein.
Yeah, and I know just who to call.
India.
Mid-market paper in India.
That is, I would like some more explanation of how that came to be, but yeah.
Yeah, what was his connect? Like, how did he?
I never figured that out. Dude,
I
as
hope
an aside,
that it comes out in the trial.
the congratulations text part of that story. Did we ever talk about that?
Oh my God.
So, when Daniel Snyder hired Ron Rivera, it was like 9 months after, or it was a few months after Bruce Allen had been fired by Daniel Snyder. Mm-hmm. And I guess like in Discovery or somehow, Daniel Snyder found out that Bruce Allen texted Ron Rivera the day he got hired with a congratulations because they were friends, even though Bruce didn't work there anymore. And Daniel Snyder was really upset that he didn't text, that Bruce didn't text him a congratulations. So as part of their like back and forth when they were like determining what they owed him as far as like the terms of his contract,
How much for the text?
his lawyer actually said to Allen's lawyers, "It is our client's understanding that as part of this agreement, Mr. Allen will be texting Mr. Snyder a thank you or a congratulations on the hire of Ron Rivera," and that was 9 months after Ron Rivera was hired.
It's just something I would like.
It's a common courtesy.
Yeah, this is a tiny story, probably not worth repeating, but here I go. Covered a Redskins Cowboys game for the ticket radio station, and you know they get you there whenever the team gets there, so you're walking through the building to the press box, you know, pretty early before the fans are in for the most part. And we were going through, you know, I mean, they drop you off like at whatever freight door, and then you got to find your way up to the press box. And I think I was walking with Tom. I think it was just me and Tom Gribble. And approached a door, and a woman like stepped in front of it and was like, "No, sirs, wait." And then Dan Snyder just like walked by. And once he was out of view, she was like, "Okay."
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how that guy rolls.
It's also the shittiest press box in the world.
Yeah, the whole stadium fucking
It's
sucks.
fucking
Yeah, it's
god awful.
notoriously bad.
Yeah. It's the only Cowboy game I covered.
I was
on the road.
confused as to. Well, I thought you did Patriots, right?
Nope.
Oh, did you get offered that and turned it down?
Yeah, I was like,
that, right?
no.
Whatever, not important.
I was just saying this. None of it happened, and it's not important.
Yeah,
Back to
I
the notes.
was always confused as to why there was a push for the Redskins to get a new stadium as early. Yeah, I mean, like it was built fairly recently, and then I went there once.
It's fucking awful.
Yeah.
The road, the visiting locker room looks like a 4A high school.
Yeah, there's four
very
high
bad.
schools that are definitely better. Yeah, so the Mint Press thing, they ran an article where they had a number of hard copies of articles that had ran in the British press that had since been pulled from the internet. So it was all stuff where, you know, like this just fucking society gossip bullshit that the British tabloids love, that was written before Epstein was ever accused of anything. And so it all looks in a different light now that he is. And one of them was, it was in a British paper, but it was a quote from like a New York socialite. They're like, one unnamed New York socialite says, and it was that she knew, or whoever it was, for some reason I just assume it's a woman, but they knew everything. Like they were just like, you know, yeah, he's got fucking young girls over there all the time giving him massages. And then had a story in there about how Jelaine had like a bunch of 20-year-olds over to her apartment and was like instructing them on sex techniques. She said a whip was involved somewhere.
Nice.
And like, yeah, that was published like 2002. And he wasn't accused of anything by like the legal system until 2006. So just trying to establish this was not a secret. Like, how could you fucking run this many people in and keep it totally quiet? I mean, Maria Farmer went to the FBI in 1996. And so there's just a ton of people who, you know, I mean, like, just as you're looking around you and saying, like, what kind of humans am I surrounded by and what kind of humans am I? You know, like, I would have thought that we're all the kind of people that object strongly to the abuse of minors. But this episode has taught me that, in fact, some people are more okay with it than you would think.
Especially if you are employed or you're being, you know, you rely on this person for whatever. It's like, well, I don't have any other options. Yeah, that's probably a lesser talked about part of all this is all the people who just turned a blind eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird too because like people have always done the jokes about like you know, I don't know, I guess it's probably not even jokes, like the people that go to like Thailand on like sex tours that for things that are like very much off the books in like the first world. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, like, and not to be like completely stereotypical here, but like there are a lot of countries still today, I would actually say most countries, where if you're a very powerful male, you can pretty much do whatever the fuck you want when it comes to women. And so a lot of times whenever these people, you know, from America or from England go to other countries, they're looking for places where it's like, well, yeah, of course that's what you do and I don't say anything or really even care because you pay me and you have power. Like, you could not get away with most of this happening like in America. Like I know some of it happened in Manhattan and but I mean, when it happened in Florida, he did actually go to trial.
Yeah.
Like if you look at, I would imagine again, most countries in the world, I'm fairly certain that their male leaders are not everything they're doing is on the up and up when it comes to the sexual side of things. I would have to imagine.
That's a big part of the Henry Abbott stuff. There's a couple like specifically devoted to, I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm going to get it wrong. Is it UAE or?
Yeah, Saudi's in there for sure too, but
Definitely.
I think that you're right. It's the UAE because they're the big BCCI one.
And the patriarch of the Khashoggi family.
Yeah, Adnan.
Yeah, like, and just how prevalent running girls was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's happening.
Abbott links to a 60 Minutes Australia piece where like one of Adnan Khashoggi's pleasure wives is like just it's 20
Pleasure
years,
wife.
30 years later, just talking about it. Very
Is that what they
interesting.
call it?
Yeah, like that was like
That's
her.
some Borat.
Yes.
It's also so demeaning to the regular wife.
Yeah, I think
Just
the
give me a
regular
better
wife
name.
was
Call me
fairly
like
demeaned.
stability wife. Or
Yeah.
At least give me something
Old
halfway
ball and
glowing.
chain.
Pleasure wife.
So what, obviously, she is not supplying pleasure. The
Right.
other one
Yeah.
doesn't have the title.
Soul sucking succubus wife.
But yes, the Henry Abbott stuff. He's mainly a lot of it's like him reading a book and like presenting the key findings and like talking about how they connect. It's very little, and I mean, like, I don't say this as a criticism, just a description. It's very little like original reporting, But the one thing that he does add to this is that, and he alludes a couple times that whenever he started writing about this stuff, some people started calling him who knew some things about it and were like, hey, look here, and stuff like that. And one of those people is the only like clear connection between Epstein and Adnan Khashoggi, who was one of the biggest like arms dealers. Like he was just a huge deal between, like making the deals work between like American arms manufacturers and the Saudi royal family, who's one of the biggest. Like Saudi Arabia, to this day they buy just a shit ton of our weapons. And so was just kind of making all of that work on every side and getting extremely rich in the course of it. Like there's plenty of stuff in the Abbott thing about him, like ingratiating himself to Nixon. Like he was meeting with Nixon before he was president. He was doing giant business deals with a bank owned by Nixon's best friend that Nixon had introduced him to. Just tons of stuff of him, like finding money to the right place.
Is this dude still alive?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Khashoggi died in 2018.
I'm talking about the arms dealer.
Yeah, that's Khashoggi.
Oh, okay. I thought you said there was a middleman between the two.
Adnan
cut out
Khashoggi
the
was the
middleman.
middleman.
Okay.
No, he was the middleman between Saudi Arabia and like Northrop Grumman and stuff like that.
Got it.
Also tie into gun running, which is something that I guess happens more than I realized. G-Max's dad,
Yeah.
known gun runner. Like that was a thing. Like that rumored to be Mossad asset, or if not, just a straight up agent.
Yeah, I think the Assad stuff, or Mossad. Assad's the Syrian leader.
Yeah.
Mossad stuff with him is, I mean, like at his
funeral.
His
the
funeral
memorial.
was in Israel, and at it, the current, at the time, Prime Minister of Israel said he has done more for Israel than can be told today.
And you're like,
What does that mean?
you mean by publishing British newspapers?
Yeah, I don't think that's
Hit some
it.
great bylines.
Like, yeah, I don't know how you square that.
Yeah. I mean, I know how. It's,
Yeah.
He was heavily involved in Mossad. So then Donald Barr is the guy who hired, it's Bill Barr's dad. He hired Epstein to the first of the curious jobs that he had. He dropped out of college and then, was immediately hired at one of the most elite prep schools. Iglesias' alma mater, Jake.
I don't even have the energy to do the voice.
So
But
Donald
if he
Barr,
got caught up in this somehow, that would please me.
I think that's as close as we're gonna get.
Okay.
But it's not nowhere.
Okay.
And Donald Barr was CIA, you know, like he worked for the CIA and had connections and did lots of things that certainly looked like he was continuing to be a CIA person.
Precursor to CIA too, right?
Yeah, OSS.
OSS.
Yeah, during World War II, Donald
Ground
Barr
floor.
was working at OSS.
Brick by brick.
The second that Bill Barr graduated college, he was working at the CIA. Do you think it was because his dad knew people there or not?
Just a capable agent.
And so, yeah, between Maxwell, Barr, and Khashoggi, I would say that this is in the realm of I'm moving over to the things you can imagine. I think you can very easily imagine that Jeffrey Epstein worked for intelligence. In that, the Mint Press thing, summarizing articles that had been pulled that were written about Epstein before 2006, there's a couple references there to him telling people that he was CIA or telling people that he was Mossad and then later denying it, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, even like, and it's so funny to me, like when stories that seem very peculiar break, the number of people that will be like run to be like, that's not that weird. The fucking passport thing, that doesn't make any sense.
That's another thing that where Khashoggi, I think, looms large in my mind. Because I don't think I finished my point. The Henry Abbott thing, he had a source who told him that Khashoggi and Epstein were together in London in the 80s, and that Khashoggi was most definitely like a clear mentor, working with Epstein a lot. And whatever, like Khashoggi was tied up in Iran-Contra. And like he was a big part of that.
Yeah.
So like let's just play bingo here.
We're checking the boxes.
I mean, it's the sale of arms somewhere in the world. So he's
Right.
He's big time. And after that, it was either that or just church committee stuff. At some point, he had a falling out. Like he was too hot in the U.S. to keep doing arms deals. And simultaneously, Britain was very upset that they were not involved at all in these arms deals, and Britain's arms manufacturers were being cut out of these millions.
Yeah.
So Prince Andrew led a concerted effort to get himself in with Khashoggi, and it resulted in one of the largest arms contract. I think it still is like the largest arms deal. Like they're still fulfilling it. The British government is.
They had to get a taste.
Yeah. And Robert Maxwell was rumored to be big in that. So this is all going down in the 80s of Prince Andrew trying to convince Adnan Khashoggi to have the Saudi royal family buy weapons from Britain, with Robert Maxwell being a person who knows everyone involved and, you know, through his intelligence shit can be influencing all this. And then, you know, I mean, like, you've got this source saying that Epstein is in there with all that. He goes on to, you know, have this relationship with Robert Maxwell's daughter. Like, this is so speculative, but you could really start to see how the whole thing comes together, because Khashoggi was definitely a guy who was constantly supplying people with very young women for sex and was willing to tape it so that he had leverage over you so that he could do these arms deals. Like, the example that Abbott uses, which I think is a great one, is the college admissions scandal that we recently had with the rich people paying for their daughters to go to USC and shit like that.
Operation Varsity Blues.
Yeah. How that unfolded was
federal.
like the FBI met once with one guy and were like, "Are you doing anything illegal?" And he was like, "Yes, let me explain it to you." And if he thought that what's her name?
Lori McLaughlin.
Yeah, if he thought that Lori McLaughlin had a video of him having sex with a 17-year-old, he would not have said that to the FBI.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so whenever you're doing this, it's not that everyone is just so obsessed with having sex with 17-year-olds. It's that they are willing to do it. It does sound nice to them. And that if the other person has a video of you doing it, then like all this is great. Yeah, I've heard descriptions of business deals, like, you know, we're just not necessarily this level of thing, but it's my understanding that it is a common way to do business in the high levels of the world currently, that it's very helpful if everyone sees everyone else do illegal shit so that we all know that we've got, you know, we're in a little Mexican standoff here, and that's going to allow us to move forward with an understanding, right?
I feel like we're talking about a classic prisoner's dilemma. That's
Wow.
that's probably like day one of, you know, like a freshman philosophy class.
God, it really is.
It really is. And it's like pretty much as far as I got in understanding that.
Hey, Lori's husband, it should be noted, is the Massimo guy.
That's
hell
right.
yeah.
That's right.
I don't
So,
think I remember that.
Just, I mean, for all of our peers out there who are rocking Sight for Sore Eyes,
Sight for
Massimo,
sore eyes.
with some yaga mixed in and some Umbro shorts, and this one's for you.
I haven't. Yaga.
And maybe a little Stussy.
Yeah, we've done this
You
before.
guys know that
dude.
M
Yeah.
popsicle shirt?
We're not gonna do it again.
Okay, I
This
like.
guy says Stussy.
Oh yeah, I do say
Stussy.
It's Stussy.
Yeah.
I know. I can't escape
The
old
only
habits die
time
hard.
when I appeared on their stream, I immediately had to forcefully try to
Yeah.
clarify this, and I was met with blank stares.
Did
Basically,
they not get it down there?
Stussy.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Did you have the? Never mind.
What do you got, bud?
No, it was just there was rumors about like Yaga, and like what it stood for,
Yeah.
and it was either you were gay or you were anti-gay, depending on which one you believed.
Oh, okay.
It was either youth
feels
against
like a
gay America,
species.
youth against a gay America. People be like, dude, you're homophobic. They weren't using that term, but that was the rumor that you were making some sort of social statement by wearing Yaga. Kids are fucking dumb.
But it also took the form of the person wearing it.
Yes.
So it meant whatever you believed, it was an expression of that. Something I was just thinking about whenever you're talking about, like, not everybody's into the 17-year-old, but a lot of people are like, that sounds nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the greatest cultural progressions we've made in the last 20 years is MILFs.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Because, like, if you think about, like, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, like, or Dan's done these segments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where he pulls 20
Yeah.
songs from
Aqualung.
the 60s. Like,
Yeah.
it was just very, very culturally appealing
Hey, you guys like 12-year-olds?
for a long time for people who were famous, men, to, like, be into teenagers. And, like, I feel like that is
it seems
non-existent now,
like,
unless you're like the guitarist for Newfound Glory. But other than that,
100% documented that just about
was a
every
tough one.
rock
That
star of
was.
the 70s
Yeah.
was, like 14-year-olds.
and that probably did not stop in the 70s. That probably is more of, like, all the way to the 90s.
So
80s for sure.
can this all be traced back to American Pie and Stifler's mom? Because that feels like, for me, my introduction to MILFs, which, moved into the MILF Hunter.
Yeah,
We all
that's
moved
certainly
it.
where
Captain
the term
Stabbin'.
came in. But I just think it's a good, like, I like that the second a woman turns 23 in the porn industry, that she's labeled as a MILF.
I don't like that.
Well, see, I know
I
that's
don't like that
because
at all. I find that incredibly misleading.
that's because of your agenda. I'm just saying that like of the ways you could go with this, trying to convince you that a 23-year-old was actually 16 implies that you think that I wish that she was 16.
That's a good point.
Which I don't like.
But instead, I'm going to try to convince you this 23 is 35.
That I love.
I understand
'Cause
where
now
you're
you're
coming
saying
from.
what I prefer is 35.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
And I see it happening constantly across xvideos.com. And I think it's a good development.
So when we're, when Washed sells for like $6 billion or something, like, you're gonna be clear because you're just gonna be running like Corey Chase lookalikes, like, in and out of wherever you. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
legality issues there.
Yeah, that's something I've definitely thought about.
Just consenting adults having a good time together.
It is really weird though if you think about, like, I mean, it's one thing to, like, look at the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, like, in pop culture, but really this is probably like the only time in human history that there's at least like a 50-50 split on the preferred desirable female.
I mean, that was like a knock on the Romans and the Greeks, like, oh, they were into like little kids and stuff, and it's like look at them, that was crazy. And it's like, well, kind of still going on.
yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely a step in the right direction.
I think it's great.
Like, I know that there have been like slight outliers throughout human history where, like, being thicker meant that you were healthier. And I don't know exactly where that place is historically or geographically. But
I don't know if that's slight outliers. I think most of the time it was hard to get food, so the only people who could get enough of it were, you know, like to get fat were the very wealthy.
Yeah, but like he's saying though, it definitely feels like there are vast historical accounts of people like looking for the smallest person possible, like youngest.
The youngest, if you could get a fat
plump youngin.
young one, maybe. I don't know.
Don't say plump youngin.
Yeah, try not to say
Plump
that.
plump is something just should be sure to be removed from your vocabulary.
Yeah, you know, that didn't feel good. I don't know the last time I said it, but I know it'll be a while now.
But yeah, so Epstein's passport, I think it's like a Norwegian passport or something like that. It's a European country, but it lists his home address is in Riyadh. And so as far as like clear like something is going on with Saudi Arabia at that point. And whenever you add that in with Henry Abbott having people telling him that Epstein was a big time associate of Adnan Khashoggi who used sex and tapes of sex to make his industry work. Like, you know, that to me, like, all of that is just smoke, but it's painting a clear picture in my mind of this progression of he meets this guy who tells him like, hey, you know, if you film people having sex, like
You can get a lot done.
yeah, you can get a lot done. And he's like, okay, good. And he's like, you know, I'll introduce you to some people. They'll get you some fake passports. It's this is all good. And you know, Robert Maxwell's sitting there at the table, also being like, yeah, you know, he's right. He's got a lot of points. My daughter can help. I've been training her for this kind of stuff for her
Right.
entire life.
That's a wild part. That it was like a family business, you know, with the Maxwells. Because normally you think like, oh my God, you see in popular culture representations like, I think my dad's in the CIA. It's almost like your dad being in the mob or something, right? And I would love to know how he went about like recruiting her, like getting her involved.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you've got what it takes. I think you're the one.
Yeah, popular documentary The Americans could give you some insight into this.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but like he beat the shit out of her, like a lot, which was weird because the boat was named Lady Ghislaine, and they had like 9 kids.
I don't know if that's weird at all.
Well, I guess
You know
you're
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, but it felt very much like I don't know, like overly hot relationship.
He hits
from
them
a-
because he loves them, Jake.
Yeah,
That's what
like-
he said.
And who knows? Like maybe I don't know where those accounts came from.
He's old school.
Yeah, I love.
It was from a lady who I think had a relationship with him because his wife published a book about him
That might have been.
where she was like he was a strict disciplinarian, but then like another woman who knew him had published a book that was like more specific, that was talking about. She was like talking to 9-year-old Jelaine, and she was like, "Yeah, Daddy's coming home to give me a hiding.
Yeah.
Like we got a scheduled hiding.
That's where she
He's gonna
learned
let
the
me pick
whips.
out the switch." Yeah. Fucked up shit. But yeah, you know, it's how could a person come to like be this person who's like not even attempting that much herself to have sex with minors, but is just like obsessed with helping other people have sex with minors? Yeah, you gotta have some fucked up stuff in the family. So as far as other stuff you can imagine.
He's
Yeah, I kind of
consulting
put
the notes page now.
I kind of put the buying girls from other countries in Imagine, like it's him making a boast one-off thing. I don't know if that's nailed down, but yeah, that's just. And as far as the thing that Abbott is consumed with, that I also have a lot of questions about, is with Khashoggi, he's having girls have sex on tape with powerful people to make the arms deals work. Like that he doesn't want anyone going and saying, hey, this guy's helping America sell fucking weapons to Iran who's on a weapons embargo so that they can fund the activities of a right-wing group that Congress passed a law explicitly stating they couldn't fund. You don't want that getting out, so you got these sex tapes. What is Epstein doing that he needs the sex tapes for? Like, there's not a lot of him being involved in arms deals.
Let me step in here.
Mm-hmm.
What he's doing is having sex with minors.
But it feels like that having
And
sex
if you
with
have a bunch of other people on tape doing similar things, then
You think that's the whole thing for him?
I think so. And like at that point, you become untouchable because you have a whole bunch of other people, obviously, as you said, that you could implicate. And I think, yeah, like the dude, I think he's just a record-breaking deviant.
I mean,
Although I don't
he's
think the
looking to
3 time a
come
day
3
thing
times a
is
day,
that
yeah.
weird. Again, I don't want to walk that back at all. And I also wonder if that's more of a mean or a median. But we don't need to probably don't need to get too deep into that. But I mean, to me, that's it. That and like. Not having his finances dug into too hard. But you're right. It is not quite the same as like being involved in Iran-Contra.
Yeah.
But it also might just be being part of the intelligence community and like not wanting that to get out. So.
Yeah, I think that he's part of the intelligence community for a reason, right? Like, and I just want, like,
yeah, it's chicken or the egg.
You don't just be part of the intelligence community. You're doing something for the intelligence community. Like, what was he? And
having all that shit.
There is a guy. The Mint Press thing linked to another person who used to be a CBS producer. Was working on CBS News things, and apparently like went off on his own. And he produced an interview with a dude, going on the record saying that Epstein was big-time Israeli intelligence and that he was trying to get American politicians on tape having sex with underage girls to give to Israel so that Israel could be like, you ever want to not approve sending millions to us? Well, it would be a shame if this got out.
Yeah, well, I feel like up until a few minutes ago, I thought that absent of that evidence, it still seems like it's going pretty well for them.
But maybe that's the reason it's going well for them.
I guess that's true.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things going on there. I
yeah.
don't think it's just leverage, but that is the, a guy who says that he knows. And in the interview, like the guy prefaces, the CBS News veteran prefaces the whole thing with, this guy's probably a fucking liar. I don't know if he's lying about this, but like he's a person that's going to tell you the things that are good for him and like make things better for him, not necessarily the things that are true. So it's all taken with a grain of salt. But yeah, that guy's like 100%. I know exactly how it works. How it works is he gets powerful people on tape having sex. He gives it to Israel. Israel tells them, you ever don't support us, this is coming out. So that's the picture he paints. But I don't know.
That's believable. I think that's a fairly effective method. But what's crazy is that he made it as long as he did after the non-prosecution agreement. When like people in those circles all knew, like, oh, that's this guy. This guy's he's the world-class pedo. And he made it to what, 2019, 2020? Like I can't whatever year he
2019 is when he killed himself. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, man, I feel like his usefulness was, you'd think, greatly reduced after that.
Yeah, he was far from like persona non grata though.
But
that's
like,
the most impressive part. Like you're not just alive, you're also like
his whole thing.
Bill Gates.
Most of his stuff with Leon Black is after all the money, all 158 million is after the conviction. The Bill Gates is still going to the island. After the conviction.
Well, you can't abandon your friend at that point. That's what he needs is
ride or
friends.
die, bro.
Yeah, he needs you more than ever.
Dude, I listen to that audio of Bill Gates on PBS like once a week.
Well, he's dead.
Once every couple weeks. Yeah, I mean, well, he's dead, so like so.
Thank you,
Bill.
Bill.
Hearing Maria Farmer talk about Wexner and just I've got so many questions about Wexner. Like what a shadowy figure. He seems like the weirdest fucking guy.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Like similar to the Massimo situation, I had no idea that like the purveyor of like teen bras could be like a trillionaire mover and shaker. Like.
I'm also
I
surprised.
know every mall had one, but it wasn't like a Nordstrom's. Like it just looked like a relatively spare teen clothing store.
He owned like
it was Victoria's Secret too, right?
He founded the Limited, but the L brands owned Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie and Fitch.
Okay, yeah, and I didn't know all that.
If you asked me how much does
the
the Abercrombie and Fitch guy make, I would say, what's the biggest number you know?
Yeah, but they haven't been popping in forever.
But at the time,
they've rebranded.
Have they?
They've gotten away from the shirtless
Nude
16-year-old
whites from the
hunks
Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
black and white catalogs. Yeah, and literally the Parks Mall in Arlington, you walk in and there's a 15-year-old like kid with abs standing at the front, shirtless, and like all the moms and their kids are gawking at him. I've seen that happen multiple times. Like what? And even as like an idiot, like 14-year-old, like this is weird. This doesn't seem like a thing that should happen.
So what's the rebrand?
I think they're just going a little bit away from the teens.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know anybody who wears it, and I'm old.
They're not doing the frayed cargo shorts anymore.
Yeah.
They
I
used to be
understand
an
what you're
outdoor
saying.
brand. They used to be like similar to Orvis or something, where it was like a high end. I'm gonna go fishing with the lads.
Yeah.
And then they realized there's more money in like shirts with that said Cox or that had like a rooster sitting on a keg. I had this shirt on a keg, like its talons just gripping the keg. And they're like, "Yeah, we can just sell these to high school kids."
I
and make a lot of
definitely
money.
had.
Great. I would love that shirt.
I had the Slacker shirt. I should tell you guys that. It just said Slacker.
Yeah.
That's not a good shirt.
It was a bad shirt, and I wore it a
Pretty
lot.
good.
I wore it a lot.
Yeah, no, I doubt that Abercrombie and Fitch is making a lot of money now, but licensed to print it in the 90s. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah,
And
okay.
if at any point you're making hundreds of millions, like diversify, you know?
Get
Like,
away from just brawls.
I mean,
and get into trafficking.
Well, New Albany, Ohio. You know all the deal about New Albany, Ohio?
It's like he owns the town or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. pull a
Whenever you
Cuban.
buy a house there, you don't buy a house there. You get like a 99-year lease from the Wexner Company or whatever.
That's the strangest shit you've said in the last hour and a half.
And the whole thing is all planned. Like it's
That's really weird.
he lives in a place where like the entire place it's just him. He's doing everything. Like
Did he buy it from a disgraced former photographer as well?
I have no idea.
Oh. Have you guys looked into that at all?
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the town that was recently acquired?
Yeah.
I did not.
I
didn't,
forgot to bring it up to you yesterday when we were talking Cuban.
Disgrace for okay, yeah.
Bollinger works for the realty company that owned that property that Cuban purchased it from. And when Cuban purchased it, he said to the Morning News, I was helping a friend out with a deal.
Yeah.
Well, that friend, yeah.
Is the guy that he fired for sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's certainly a wrinkle that no one's really followed.
Yeah. It hasn't been brought up too much, but I mean,
I
his
think
picture's
he's kind
on their
of a
website.
bad guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Is this near Columbus?
Yeah. It's a
Because
suburb of
that's another
Columbus.
thing that I was unaware of, his connection to Ohio State. Like multiple buildings and stuff, like health centers named after Wexner.
Yeah, Wexner's from Columbus.
Okay.
the
I did not know that.
The first Limited was in like a mall in Columbus.
And I believe they've since been changed. But that was a thing. Like,
Oh, really? It's that? That's great.
I think so.
We've talked about this before, but it drives me insane how little formal heat Wexner gets. Like, just he needs to explain in public why he gave this man power of attorney. And I mean, like, I think that he's made evasive statements about it or whatever, but like, a real one. Like, don't let it off on that. I'm not, dude.
I'm sorry. It is still the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
Okay.
Okay. And
That's
he
not
still,
just one building.
still has his photo up and okay. Not
Yeah.
weird at all.
No.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff, I need that to change.
Well, you
in
think
my
Urban
idea
and
of
him ever had some good talks?
No, there's no doubt.
Oh my
Probably.
God.
I wanted now I'm moving into just some random thoughts and ephemera, just some notes
Okay.
from the whole
I
investigation.
probably only got a few minutes left.
Yeah, kind of moving towards wrapping up. Just one of the things that emerged from this, Abbott's like 4 links down talking about the CIA somewhere and talked about a banker who that was involved in the CIA. And there's an interview with a dude who's like, yeah, I know the bankers in the CIA because he brought me in. And they were like, oh, yeah, so like what you do? And he's like, well, it's all in my autobiography. But what the deal is I owned a business and the CIA would just put people on my payroll and they would be able to go around and say, like, I work for this guy. That's why I'm here.
That's a pretty common thing, right?
Yeah, extremely. Yeah, that's like how the whole thing
Yeah.
works. And they were like, well, why'd they pick you? And he was like, well, because what I owned was an import-export business. And the CIA, of course, loves the import-export business because it's a lot of people in other countries that don't have to explain why they're there because it's obvious they're in the import-export business.
And they
Like, you
can.
know, if you knew anyone in the import-export business.
Did you just accuse my wife of being an asset? Like,
She's
as she
definitely
walked
talked
through
to
the
someone
room?
from the CIA without knowing it. I'm positive of that now.
You know, it's probably not out of the question. You're very, compliant.
Compliance checks, okay?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure the CIA could not get around that at all. Also, they like have the ability to move shit
Yeah.
and like not have people look at it.
Yeah.
So whether that is, you know, cocaine or slave girls,
An interesting.
both are
Yeah.
both are an option.
I've seen The Wire.
Yeah,
Interesting.
dead girls.
Dead girls.
Yeah. Bad deal.
That's one of the funniest lines of that entire show. Like
What?
when Frank realizes what's going on, he's like, "Dead girls, full of dead girls."
He was in over his head.
He was in over his head for sure. I think he was pure at heart, but also possibly a racist. So that contradicts the pure at heart part.
A different time.
Yeah, he's not that different, but sure.
But yeah, the one thing that Abbott highlights that I didn't really understand, like you'd always kind of like known that the CIA and stuff like that is sniffing around these various like we all know for sure like how their involvement in the drug trade, you know, of like there was that the Tom Hanks movie that I've referenced before, American Made, that I got the guy's name wrong, and you remember this? This was like a month ago.
I do.
I thought his name was Bobby Seale. That's what it was. And you were like, no, that's another guy.
That is a different guy.
And you were right.
Yeah,
His name's Barry Seal.
Bobby Seale.
I thought it was just Seal.
What if Seal went by just Seal?
That'd be great.
Yeah, Bobby Seale founded the Black Panthers, I believe,
Yeah.
or not. Maybe not founded, but he was a
But it's
early lieutenant.
and a big deal of this is just like any kind of like a shady banking situation, you know, like banks where the point of them is to obscure whose money it is and where it comes from and stuff like that. The CIA, you would think, wants to crack down on that because they're part of law enforcement, and law enforcement's whole job is clearing up situations like that. But the CIA is primarily concerned with solving the problem of how do we pay people with money we're not supposed to have. And having shady banks is extremely helpful. So
They're just like us.
you know, running cocaine to make funds that Congress couldn't officially appropriate and hiding that in a bank for drug runners, you know, that's something that they love to do.
What's the
because then
bank
they
from the 80s?
BCCI.
Yeah. That's the one that always pops up.
Yeah, that's big in here, and that's the thing where like we're all talking about this. Imagine if Jeffrey Epstein was procuring underage girls for powerful people. The BCCI thing, like that's nailed down. It's congressional testimony of people being like, yes, employees of the bank got fucking 13-year-old girls, sold them to the UAE royal family, and they were just fucking abused for life from there on. Like, that's a person saying, like, in front of Congress being like, this is something I know to be true.
That, like, this is what we talked about last time, and it drives me crazy that, like, I seriously wanted to talk to my Q family member about this the last time I saw them and be like, look, we're not that different.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that people have actually said under oath that was reported on. I could show you the videos.
Let's just focus on
probably.
that.
And like, it's nuts. I agree with you. There's
We
a
don't
lot
need to get
going
into
on.
JFK Jr. We
And
could just talk about this.
Love your motivation, love your energy. Let's just focus it here.
Yeah.
Because this stuff happened for sure. And it's just weird to me that, I guess that's one of the weirdest parts to me about the Q thing is just that there's a lot of shit out there that you could have really sunk your teeth into. And you opted for this one. It's strange.
Is the JFK Jr. stuff still going on down at Dealey?
I don't know if they're still gathering there, but I know that the people are in town. There was a story recently in the Observer that the family members of like one of the people that was involved in this whole deal was like bragging about how she'd been mixing their like anti-COVID cocktails, and it's just like bleach. She was just telling like they're all just
Hell yeah.
drinking bleach together.
I went down there, not to Dealey Plaza, but I would have thought that during Trump Papa Bill Sunday that there would have been a lot more of that shit, and there was not. There was like your normal grifter merch setups. There was 3 or 4 tents for that, but I thought it was going to be like a full on, Dealey Plaza JFK Jr. thing, and I didn't see really any of that.
That's
It was
too bad.
weird. I know. Maybe they all were at the church service.
Missed
that
opportunity.
morning. Yeah, huge.
And then one of the kind of final things I'd like to say is just point out that, as this podcast often does, if we just want to make our blanket point about everything, this is a wealth accumulation problem, folks. There's a lot of people out there that would
eating
like
up.
to abuse 17-year-olds, and most of them can't do it because most of us don't have hundreds of millions of dollars. And if you did, as I would encourage you to do, and adopted government policies that broadly constrained consumption, you would make it so that no one had enough money that they could set up a ring.
I would like to keep the pool, but I understand the pool might be in play.
Your pool?
Yeah,
You can keep the pool.
maybe.
I don't think that everyone who has a pool has a large ring of underage sex filming.
If you do have a pool, though, you are more likely.
It's pretty undeniable.
All of the people we've
It's
talked about
obviously
today had
true.
pools.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It does make you wonder, though, if because as you said, there's a lot of people that would want to do this and they just can't. I'm interested, and this is probably a much more a broader topic. I'm interested if people become more interested in something like that as they become more powerful.
I think so. I think it's what
Like,
you're talking about. Of you would masturbate 3 times a day if you had the time, but
But I can promise you there is no amount of money in the world that would make me attracted to late teen, early, that's just not.
You've got your own thing going on. I think that's clear enough.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's a lot of people like me, I don't think.
I don't know anyone like you.
All right, well, that felt like a shot.
You're one of a kind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're one of a kind.
So, I don't know.
I know a lot of people kind of like you. I don't know. I'd say you stand out amongst everyone I've met as far as glorifying the 54-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say, putting it all out there like this, I think this Epstein guy was a real sicko.
I think you may be onto something.
I don't know what to make of Spacey.
Oh, we can't do that.
That's a whole other.
We can't
When
do
you
that.
you can't
Does he
talk
want any
Spacey without
part of
Chris
this?
Tucker.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, but if I'm again, the woman who was on the plane with Spacey and Chris Tucker does say that was the one
Chris
time
fucking Tucker, man.
that
I
everyone was
can't.
cool towards her.
I can't wrap my. Yeah, he's the calming influence. Fine.
That's what she says,
Fair,
but
I
I don't
guess.
know. But I'm just saying, I thought Spacey was more involved than just that. But it doesn't seem like Spacey's trying to get girls, guys.
Yeah, I mean, he killed a guy.
So it just seems like I don't know.
It's kind of I would imagine it's whatever you want type situation. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Jeff
it
Epstein's
sort of
look at this weirdo.
It seems to suggest that.
Watch out for this dude.
We're it's not even that because you can see how some of these there's in the documentary they talk about how Weinstein shows up, and you so
It's a nice season 3 edition.
yeah you get this
Bushimi.
idea of there's people around that all know that they like the same sick twisted shit, and so they people are aware of this stuff, but they at least like the same sick twisted shit. It appears that Kevin Spacey likes a different kind of sick twisted shit. But for him to still pop up and be like, hey, I heard weird things are going on. How weird are we talking?
Let me just see.
I don't
Let me
know.
peek.
I feel like
It's a
there was
bad
nothing
deal.
off limits for him.
Yeah, I would agree.
Going
Yeah.
back and watching LA Confidential or something, I'm just ooh, yeah, that guy was definitely into some water sports or something.
Well, do you have anything you want to promote?
Yeah, just check out our series of podcasts, Washed Media, Circling Back Podcast. Too Much Dip is our sports vehicle. Shout out to KJ. I'm sure he's listening. And that's it, man. I really appreciate you guys letting me do this in person.
Yeah, this was great.
How y'all doing with the cron? Everybody owe me free?
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, what was your test result?
Me?
Oh, was.
Oh,
you
no,
asked
I'm
me
good.
not to say. Okay.
Yeah.
PCR,
No, I'm good.
passed the PCR Tuesday morning, so.
Did you have a contact?
No. Oh, yeah, Randy. our producer.
That's tough.
It was tough.
Look, it's going to happen. We just hope this is not the end of civilization.
We're still rocking antibodies over here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Monoclonal? I don't even know what that means, but I've been seeing it in the news a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't. I don't know what that is.
It's chronal. It's mono.
All right, we'll see you.
That's it for tonight. The high school special is next, so until tomorrow, for everyone who's been a part of this one,
I'm TC and Jake.
we do thank you for watching. Good night.